thought I had more Stephen King books than this. Hi, welcome back to Books Like Fun. I'm Bo, and today we're going to talk about how many Stephen King books I have. Surprisingly, I don't have as many Stephen King books as I thought I did. Let's talk about the very first Stephen King book I ever read that got me into wanting to read more. That book is Cell. This was the very first Stephen King book that I ever read. Cell was published in 2006, and I think that's around the time that I read it. Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, was published in 1974, long before I was born. So his books have been around for my entire life, and I can't believe the first book I read by him was published in 2006. My mom always had Stephen King books on her shelf, but I never read them growing up. When I saw Cell on the shelf, the cover was very interesting to me. It drew me in, and I obviously saw that it was by Stephen King. His name is super big on that cover, but I hadn't read any books by him before, and this one looked really interesting, so I bought it, and I'm glad I did. It was a really great book. When I'm looking for books in the bookstore, I look at the covers first, and this cover was super interesting. So I bought it. Cell is an apocalyptic horror novel. There's an artist named Clayton who's trying to reunite with his son after some kind of apocalypse happens. Some kind of signal is sent through cell phones, hence the name of the book, Cell, that turns everyone who got that signal, whoever was on their phone at that time, turned into a zombie. I love a good zombie book. But it seems like most zombie stories don't tell you how the zombie apocalypse happened. So it's interesting that we get kind of a reason for this one, that cell signal that was sent out. I think I might want to reread this one because it's been so long since I read it. 2006 was, 18 years ago? Wow. How has it been that long? That's crazy. I definitely need to reread this one. So this was the very first Stephen King book that I read, and after reading that, I wanted more. I wanted to buy more Stephen King books. I really like his writing style. I don't know the order that I bought all these books in, so these are not in any particular order. So let's get into it. On Writing was published in the year 2000. I bought it sometime when I was in college, so probably the late aughts. I bought it because I want to be a writer and I like Stephen King's writing style. I wanted to see what kind of advice he would give people who wanted to be writers. There's a lot of personal stories in that book, so it's part memoir, part writing advice. And since I want to be published someday, I thought I might as well learn from one of the greats. Everything's Eventual was published in 2002. And it's a collection of short stories. There's 14 short stories, including 1408, which they made a movie out of with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. I can't believe I haven't seen that movie yet. I think back then I saw every John Cusack movie there was, but not this one, so I guess I need to watch that one. Apt Pupil, which is a shorter Stephen King book, was originally published in 1982 in a novella collection called Different Seasons. And I didn't know about this story until it was published as a standalone book. And this book is about Todd Bowden, and I have notes down here, that's what I'm looking down. Todd Bowden is a college student and he's studying the Holocaust. And he discovers that his neighbor was an SS officer in a concentration camp, and that neighbor is hiding from the people who want to imprison him because he committed a lot of crimes during World War II. So his neighbor's hiding out in America, and Todd discovers this. Todd makes him an offer. Tell me what they won't tell us in school and I won't turn you in. So of course the old SS officer agrees because he doesn't want to be turned in. But I guess what Todd learns starts to affect him, starts to affect his health and his work. And the school counselor becomes concerned. And apparently this was also turned into a movie. A lot of Stephen King stuff has been turned into movies. So this was turned into a movie in 1998, which I did not know. But I didn't hear about it until 2018. That's when I bought this. I teach the book Night to my English class every year, and that's about the Holocaust. So I really want to read this book to see how those accounts are similar or are different. I know this is fiction, but hopefully some of the details are accurate. Fairy Tale was published in 2022. I bought this book because I wanted to increase my Stephen King section of my library. And I bought this one right after it came out in 2022. And I liked the title. I didn't know what it was about, but I like fairy tales. So I wanted to see what that was all about. This book is about a teenager who inherits a key to a shed or something. And this shed somehow leads to another world. I don't know anything more than that about it. I kind of want to go into reading this book without knowing too much about it. But I like fairy tales. We'll see if there's any references to different fairy tales. Hopefully there is. That'd be cool. Maybe that'll be the next one I read. I don't know. I got to figure out what other book I want to read in March, because I'm trying to read 2 books a month and I've only read 1 so far. So maybe it'll be that one. I don't know. I think I need to pick a shorter book, though. This one's kind of long and March is almost over. The Green Mile was originally published in 1996. This copy was published in 2018. This has a beautiful cover there. And I saw the movie, of course. I saw the movie. I really liked the movie. I like Tom Hanks. I've seen a lot of Stephen King movies. I saw Thinner before I even knew it was a Stephen King story. Lots of his stuff was made into movies. When I first watched the movie, I didn't know there was a magical element to it. My husband didn't tell me before we watched the movie, and that's okay. I like the magical element in the movie. It was very interesting. I think it gave the movie a little something. When I first started watching it, I thought it was just going to be about death row. And I was pleasantly surprised when I found out about the magical element. When I learned that there was magic in the story, I wanted to read it. So that as soon as I finished watching the movie, I ordered this book. It was a great movie, so I'm hoping the book is great too. I'm sure it is. The book's always better. Next, I have a series, and this is the Mr. Mercedes series. So I have Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, and End of Watch. And I haven't read these yet. I want to, but I did see the show. Mr. Mercedes was published in 2014. The show came out in 2017. I saw the show first. I don't think I bought the books until after I started watching the show. I didn't start watching the show until after all 3 seasons were out already, so I just binge watched them. I didn't know it was set in Ohio until after I started watching the show. I started recognizing things that he was talking about, road names and city names and things like that. And so I was invested once I learned it was set in Ohio, because I was born and raised in Ohio. Don't live there anymore, but I was born and raised in Ohio. So it's always fun to watch something that is set where I'm from. Holly is the next book that I'm sharing with you, and I realize that Holly is part of the same universe as Mr. Mercedes. Holly was published in 2023. Let's put that right there. Holly is part of the same universe as Mr. Mercedes. And I just found out the other day that there's 2 books before this one. So I also need to buy The Outsider and If It Bleeds. So once I have those, I'm just gonna read through all 6 of those books as quickly as I can. Hopefully I get pulled into the story. I like when that happens. But I really liked the show, so I'm thinking I will probably like the books as well. 11/22/63 was published in 2011. I did not know about this book until recently. And there's also a show based on this book, which I've seen. I saw the show first before buying the book. I think I saw the show before buying the book. I liked the show. I heard that the book is a little bit different than the show, so I hope I enjoy it. I'm sure I will. This book has time travel in it. They're trying to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I don't usually like historical fiction, but this one seemed really interesting, and it's Stephen King, so I like his writing style, so we'll see how I like that too. This is a giant book. Up for the challenge. The last book. Now hold on 1 second, you forgot one. You also have Charlie the Choo Choo, which was a children's book written under the pseudonym Beryl Evans. It's part of the Dark Tower fantasy series. The last book in my Stephen King collection is the Bachman books. And this is a set of 4 books written by Stephen King as Richard Bachman. So I guess he wanted to see if people bought his books because they were good, or if they bought his books because his name was on them. So he wrote those. And I think it was leaked that he was the author of those, so I don't think it stayed secret for long. I bought this book on eBay because one of the books in there is out of print. Rage is out of print. So of course I want to read it. This version was published in 1986. The stories were all published previous to that, but they were put in this volume in 1986. I think I have to be careful with this book. It doesn't look like the cover is in great shape. It's gonna come off. It's already ripping on the top and bottom, and I haven't read through this yet, so I'm gonna have to be very careful when I read this book. But I am interested to learn more about why he wrote under a pen name, Richard Bachman, and that's in there too. An introduction by the author why I was Bachman. So that's all of my Stephen King collection, and I'm sure you are surprised that I don't have It in my collection. Doesn't everybody own It who likes Stephen King? I'm getting there. There are a few Stephen King books that I really want. It is at the top of that list. I don't really like clowns, but I do want to read the book. A student of mine told me that I should really read it. The ending surprised them, so I wanted to see what that was all about. I haven't seen the movies either. I haven't seen the It movies, so maybe I'll read it and then watch the movies and do a video about it and see how they're the same or similar or different. I also want Salem's Lot. I recently found out that's a vampire book. I did not know that until recently, and I like reading vampire books. So Salem's Lot is also on my list, and I want to see if I can get my hands on a copy of Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. Love that movie. Fantastic movie, and I have no clue if the book or the short story is anywhere close to the book, or I don't know if the story is anywhere close to the movie. So I want to get my hands on that and compare those as well. Maybe I'll do a whole series reading books and watching the movies or the shows and talking about the differences and similarities. We'll see. Let me know if that would be interesting to you. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any other Stephen King books that you would recommend that I add to my collection. If you were interested in hearing about all the books I've read so far in 2024, click the link right there. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.